Hey everybody!
What's up, my friends? This is Josh
And Jeannie Rubin
from East West Healing, and we are here today to talk to you on the 14th episode of Conscious Nutrition.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about you don't have SIBO, you have hypothyroidism.
Well, you
Boom!
have SIBO because you have hypothyroidism.
Yeah, and you have the SIBO because you have hypothyroidism. But the SIBO is not the cause of the hypothyroidism.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susan Rummage. Go Pats. So it's a great little 30-minute topic. It's a big topic, of course. We post a lot on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook about this. But we want to talk about it live because there is a lot of confusion. I think we talk to people on the daily. We like that.
Well, we're talking about it because it's a very, very common issue. We're seeing it more and more and more these days. And it's more about the approaches that are being taken to eradicate the SIBO and the lack of understanding around what's causing it, maybe.
It's just the eyes that are seeing it. We just look at things from a different point of view.
Exactly.
More of like a indirect versus direct point of view. We don't put on binoculars and say, let's kill the SIBO, right? We look at it a little bit differently and try to look at the body as a system of systems. Why? Because the body is a system of systems. So before we get into all this juicy, great stuff, as always, let's go over some logistical things that I like to talk about. And the first is, as you know, we offer a free 15-minute consult. And if you didn't know this, now you know. And it's a chance for you to build a relationship with us, ask us some questions, and a chance to fill you in on kind of our philosophy and how we work with people with your current complaints or condition. So it's an obligation, it's a complimentary, and I'm going to go ahead once my screen refreshes and post that link in the comment section. So if you haven't, please click on that link and set up your free 15-minute consultation. If you know someone that would benefit from a free 15-minute consultation, definitely share this link with them. At the same time, we also, I'm trying to paste this here, we also, there we go, we also offer what's called our Restoration Thyroid audio series. And that's a 7-part audio series on how to heal your adrenals and thyroid, aka metabolism, with food. And we want to share it because we get such great feedback on it. And honestly, it's one of the things that we've done that I really, number one, enjoy doing. And I feel like it really represents our work. So it's a chance for people to really understand what we do. So when people have questions, it's always great to refer back to that so you understand where we're coming from when we and really how we look at the body and what our philosophy is. So definitely click on that link. It is in the comment section, whether you're watching this on YouTube or even on Facebook on the playback. And lastly, when you're watching this, I lost it. When you're watching this video, don't forget to share it with people. Don't forget to like it. Of course, from a personal standpoint, that helps us a lot. And, you know, there's probably people out there that would benefit from this stuff. So we appreciate that on a personal level. So I guess let's just jump into this. You know, there's a lot of things going on here when we talk about SIBO. Like Jeannie said, I think the biggest reason we talk about some of these things, you know, even though we always say we don't treat SIBO directly, we treat people, we don't chase symptoms, we create health, right? So we don't chase it with protocols, but it's so big because whether we have clients or we talk to people, it's obviously big nowadays, and people are chasing it with supplements and protocols, and what we know is this. From our experience, it doesn't work to the effect that people want it to work, or it works and then when they stop their protocol or they stop their supplements, over time it all comes back. And the reason for that is because there's a deeper rooted issue when we're talking about SIBO. Now, we've said this for a long time in this research, you know, and I'll give you some quotes of different people, but like this research to show that bacterial overgrowth is the effect of being in a hypometabolic state, hypothyroid state. We'll kind of clarify that a little bit, you know. And a lot of it has to do with different levels in the body. It has to do with the cell, it has to do with blood sugar, and it has to do with the gut. So we'll kind of tap into those a little bit here. But that's why we want to talk about this. So Let's go ahead.
Let's get this party started.
Let's get it started.
So I guess maybe we should start with what SIBO is, and I think most of you out there listening might already know, but it is a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So again, you have different, your microbiome, you have different levels of bacteria at different areas within the small intestine, the colon, so on and so forth. And again, some of the bacteria that are being found within the small intestine are not are bacteria that are more likely to be found within the colon, so on and so forth. But essentially, the digestive process is a top to bottom process. It starts, starts with the smells, and then again, mastication and different digestive enzyme release and whatnot. But primarily, it's the acidity of the stomach that signals the rest of the tract below. So it's a top to bottom process, signals the tract below to release other digestive enzymes. What we know is being in a hypometabolic state, high levels of adrenaline, high levels of cortisol, shut down digestion by up to 50%, which therefore, again, reduces hydrochloric acid production at the top, which now affects everybody below. We can't break down our foods. We've got malabsorption. We've got nutritional deficiencies. We've got food putrefying in the gut, creating bacterial overgrowth, so on and so forth. So we have to look at the function of digestion first, and then again, its relationship to the thyroid. If you want to...
Yeah, so if you think about it, and these are things we've said over and over again, but it's always great to talk about them in different ways. We are a conglomeration of cells, and every cell in our body is affected by thyroid hormone, right? And this is including the gut cells. This is including the stomach and all the different parts of the GI system, right? So when our cells are not getting thyroid hormone, what happens is they produce lactic acid. So we are in an inflammatory state, right? And this essentially signals the nervous system to say, we need to be in this fight or flight or freeze state. We're not in this digest and relaxation state. We're not in a parasympathetic state. So what happens is, even though you're not running from a lion, even though you're not working out, running a marathon, whatever you're doing, you might be just sitting reading a book. Physiologically, your body is still doing that. It's experiencing that at the cell level and the autonomic nervous system level, right? So what happens is, since we're talking about the GI system, we'll kind of keep it on that because I could go off on a million tangents, is that it's been shown when the body is in this mode, digestive enzymes, like Jeannie said, get shut down by over 50%. One of the most important, is hydrochloric acid, right? And this is, I know it starts above even more, but for most people, hydrochloric acid is a huge aspect of our immune system, right? But it's also a digestive enzyme. Why? We produce it to break down protein.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's such a high level of acidity that it also is a protective mechanism. It's an immune system. So again, it helps us to kill off the different pathogens, parasites, different things that are coming in on a regular basis. We are exposed.
That's why you have 70% of your immune system in your gut, because you're literally an open tube from mouth to anus. Yes. Those are the only two open parts of your body, right? You don't have open ends of your fingers or anywhere else, right? So that's why you have a lot of your immune system there to protect you. So when you're in this state, this stress state, this fight or flight state, the sympathetic state, the cells are not producing energy, right? We're compensating. So what happens is the body says, I need to produce energy, and we've talked about this in the last one. So I break the body down. But this is very catabolic to our system. And when digestion slows down, now in a simple sense, we can't break down the very foods that we're bringing in. And when we can't break down these foods, what happens? They don't get broken down. They sit there, they putrefy, they ferment, the list goes on. And if you look at most of the foods people are eating, they're eating nuts and seeds. They're eating highly fibrous foods like vegetables. They're eating beans and legumes. They're eating processed foods. And these things can ferment and putrefy way easier than regular organic food. Why? Because most of them are in a normal state, highly undigestible.
But now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
It's
now
okay.
we're adding
It's
layers.
okay.
So they're already difficult to digest, and now you're putting it in a body that's already compromised digestively. So I just want to put that out there just to offer more clarity on that, because again, it's those different layers that are creating more of the issue, and people aren't identifying it, they're not understanding it, and this is where we want to kind of highlight that.
Right. So what happens is, I forget where I was in that, but so if you think about it, it's really a breakdown in the metabolic system that's causing the SIBO, right? But as Diane Schwarzbien says, you are your metabolism. You control your hormones. Hormones control your metabolism, right? Which is your cells, which is who you are. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we can really have a huge influence on our metabolism by how we eat, right? And it shows us that how we eat can have a gigantic effect on our metabolism in a negative way, right? So we're here to talk about maybe towards the end how we control that and work into that. But if you think about it, when we're in the stress state, things slow down, energy is diverted elsewhere. We're not thinking about digesting food. We're not thinking about procreating, etc. So these systems slow down, not only digestively with enzymes, but motility and mobility, right? So how our food is moved actually go slower. And we see this with people, right? So
one of the most common symptoms of hypothyroidism is
interrupting people.
So I'm so sorry.
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
It's a conversation.
It's conversation. There is
but I'm trying to connect the dots. Again, this is it's a very, very common symptom in hypothyroidism.
No, you're not. You're trying to throw me off track.
I'm not.
So I forget what I'm talking about so you can
You're
talk
talking
the
about
entire
motility
time.
and mobility.
I'm totally kidding.
There you go.
This is fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? I'm having fun. So motility and mobility slow down, right? I forget what I was going to say about that.
So it leaves things sitting in the gut.
Right. So it leaves things sitting in the gut. And that's the state of your metabolism. Oh, okay. So when people come to us eating a lot of these foods, the vegetables, the nuts, the seeds, a lot of the offending foods that we say, okay, the body can't break down, right? And easily can create a hypometabolic state. And the reason people poop better on these foods is because it does sometimes move food along. But when we remove these foods, people get constipated. Why? Because now we're seeing the true state of their metabolism. It's in this stressed survival mode state, so things aren't moving along. Even though they're taking something like a food that's moving it along, the state of their body in real time is not working properly. So what we're seeing is their body's in this hypometabolic state. They're not moving food along. And a lot of the times, that what leads to people getting SIBO, right? The food kind of sitting there or moving slowly through the system, and they get bacterial overgrowth, right? It'd be like throwing a piece of meat or something, in the corner of your living room, and they sit there. It's going to mold, right? There's nothing to break it down. And that's what's happening in people's digestive systems, kind of in a sense. So that's really what's happening with people. So we could say it is the food people are eating, but we also could say it's the food that people are eating that's creating the state of their metabolism that's leading to SIBO, right? And that's why we don't go, we need to kill SIBO or go after it with supplements, because, as you know, we believe we create health. So if we change how people are eating and we do it in a way to support metabolism, to upregulate the metabolism, what do? We automatically let the body do what it's designed to do and create health. It will begin to regulate or produce digestive enzymes, etc., so it can break down food. Motility increases. We poop more. We move through food more. We detoxify. We heal the system naturally. See you later. I'm out of here. It's that simple.
But it is that simple. And again, there's different bacteria that we're seeing in the small intestine. Think about it. If you are heavily constipated, if you're not moving food through, it's going to back up. It has to come out somewhere. So again, that's why we're seeing it further down the digestive tract. Before it was a lot candida. Now, again, it's going further and further and further. And when we talk about, again, the foods that people are using, you have to think about the lining of the digestive tract. It's very delicate. It's a delicate tissue. So when you're using things that are high fiber, non-soluble fibers, things like that to help continue to maintain consistency, it's actually acting like a roto-rooter on the system and can easily damage tissues and compromise you even further. So just wanted to add that to that. But I think one of the most important relationships that we can look at with respect to motility and mobility, because that is really where it connects, again, in low thyroid circumstances, is the thyroid does, it is responsible for peristaltic movement. It is what keeps...
It regulates peristalsis.
It regulates
thyroid
peristalsis.
hormone, we should say.
Yes, thyroid hormone. So
just like it regulates the heart rate, it regulates
everything.
We talked about this last. Not to interrupt you, I'm getting you back.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So it regulates everything in the body, like we talked about. Energy is the most important thing to the human body, because without that, nothing else can work appropriately. We cannot adapt. Why am I doing this? I don't know.
Why am I doing this? Because Jessica Little, yes! I'm so stoked.
Yay, Little! What's up? Ooh, ooh. So, without energy, we can't adapt. We should be able to adapt. So if we don't have energy, guess what happens? We compensate. So one of the most important things when we're talking about what contributes to SIBO is the fear of sugar.
Say that one more time.
The fear of sugar.
Oh, yes.
Right? So people are so deathly afraid of sugar, right? You see all these people saying Coke is so bad. It's almost like if we remove Coke from our society, it'd be utopia. It's not true, right? There's so many other underlying emotional issues. Coke is not the reason why America is obese, CrossFit. Okay? Just, I'm telling you right now. But
that would be so easy.
What?
If Coke were the problem.
It would be easy, but it's not the problem.
I get it.
You know what I mean? It's really not, because number one, there's so many other things in Coke, in Pepsi, in Mountain Dew, that's probably 10 times worse than the sugar. Okay? So people are so afraid of sugar that they transfer that to all types of sugar. And you have to remember there's different types of sugar. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you, hey, eat white sugar, okay? That's a whole nother topic in itself. I don't want to go there. What I'm saying is that we can eat food with sugar. But what happens? Most people are afraid to do that. Why? Well, because of limiting beliefs. Hey, what's up, Ryan? We are funny, I know. I'm just kidding. Because of limiting beliefs, fear is instilled in them. They have a candida infection. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
And again, the fear is being more, it's more so because there's confusion. And that's what we're trying to clarify here. You know what I mean? And again, carbohydrates, to some degree, should be slightly feared when you begin to introduce them back into the diet after having not been on them for a long period of time. Again, they are necessary to heal, but you have to do them. You have to incorporate them properly. Again, sometimes with SIBO, when somebody starts to incorporate carbohydrates because of the inability to metabolize them, that constipation can lead to diarrhea because of that carbohydrate malabsorption issue. And again, that's just from lack thereof or the hyperinsulinemic state that the body goes into when in a low metabolism or a hypothyroid condition.
So the thing is this, we need these foods in our diet, right? And I know Heather's saying Coke, OJ, and pure maple syrup is my go-to. I'm not sure if you're joking or not. But from my point of view, I don't recommend clients use those things, ever. Only because of what it can do to metabolism. See, what most people are trying to do is chase a perfect body temperature and pulse. You could eat a piece of cake and get a perfect body temperature pulse. Why? Because it's sugar. And our cells work on sugar. And if you flood the system with sugar, you can have a normal body temperature and pulse, right? I work with a lot of people that are depleted, sick, overweight, whatever, and they have normal body temperatures and pulses. That doesn't mean they're healthy, right? So what we're really trying to do with the foods that we use is we're trying to reteach the liver how to store glycogen. And it's different than just revving the engine, right, superficially. We're trying to really heal the system by reteaching the body to store energy so it can use that energy efficiently. We do that with fruits and roots. So to get back to my point here, the reason those are important is because, number one, they are digestible, the way we teach people to use them, ripe and overcooked. We can get the necessary minerals, nutrients, and vitamins from them, but at the same time, what do? They help us reteach the liver to store glycogen. That glycogen helps us convert thyroid hormone. That thyroid hormone is used in the cell to rev the engine and produce energy. Number one, that pushes us into a more healing state. Number 2, that increases the feedback loop so we can continually be in that oxidative pro-metabolic state, right? Number 2, that upregulates the digestive system, upregulates peristalsis, helps us produce digestive enzymes. What's the end result? Number 1, we're healing the system. We're healing our metabolism. Remember, you are
restoring HPA access. You're restoring communication. All different.
You're doing so many different things besides just trying to heal Hebo. Trying to heal Hebo.
Oh no! Oh no! We might have a laugh attack coming on.
It's Hebo.
So yes.
So you're doing so much more, but what are you doing? Right? We always say this, 1847, AT still. If you give the body what it needs, nature will do the rest, right? If you support the body, you live in a way, eat in a way, and breathe in a way. Hebo, I just can't get over that. That the body will produce health. So you're doing all this indirect stuff to create health, but indirectly, your body's upregulating the system. SIBO will go away because now you're going to populate the system with good bacteria, and you do not need to take probiotics, right? I was talking to a client yesterday, without naming names, and she lives very far away in a different country, and she came from that place, you know, of the SIBO diet. It just didn't work, and she's been working with us for, I think, 4 months, and she's doing incredible. Like, she has put in such great work, and she's healing incredibly, and the one thing she talks about is just the amount of energy she has, because not that she's eating a crap load of carbohydrates, she's eating the right amount for her body with protein and fat, but she's really healing her system, not just trying to attack the SIBO, the Hebo.
Yes. So there was a question that I wanted to just kind of put the pieces together. And would glycemic regulation be at the heart of resolving a SIBO condition? Yes, with respect to upregulating thyroid conversion. So it's taking the body out of a state of compensation and improving or resolving or repairing energy production, because now the body's receiving what it needs. It's being pulled out of that compensated state, that state of chaos, and now it can quiet down.
Yeah.
So essentially, yes.
And I think it's really important when we talk about that to understand, because I think people misconstrue that. It's not about high carb. Right?
No.
We want to find the balance, and it's all personalized, so it depends on the person. We go very slow with people. Yes, we use body temperature as a way to look at this, right? Because we're looking at, hey, is our body efficient at taking the food we take in and converting it to energy, right? Is it adapting? That's what we're looking at, and much more. But and we look at their logs, their pattern of logs over a period of time, and how they feel over a period of time. So we're looking at all these things, not just temperature or pulse, but we're making sure we're finding that balance, because not enough carbs, too many carbs, like 300, 400, 500 grams of carbs a day, for most people is too excessive. So now you're going from hypoglycemic to hyperinsulemic, right? So you can create a problem. So it's about finding that balance for each individual.
Right. And just going slow.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you know, the best way to improve motility, because again, that is essentially what you do want to do in helping to resolve something that's happening in the gut, or something like SIBO that does reduce peristaltic movement or motility, or is part of that, is to, number one, upregulate yourself metabolically. There are tools that we use if needed with some people to help induce motility. We use an herb called Cascara sagrada. I think we've shared that with you guys before. For short periods of time, from an aged bark. And again, we can obviously give you guys resources if needed. But again, that's
yeah, I was gonna say, really be careful with that.
You have to be careful with it, because it's very powerful.
Right. Think about this: 20%. So your thyroid produces hormone, right? Most of it is converted peripherally: liver, kidneys, gut. That's where it's converted. Okay, some other places minute. A lot in the liver, 20% in the gut. Your gut converts 20% of thyroid hormone. So think about it. The gut's not moving food. If the flora is disrupted, as Jeannie was talking about, we can't convert thyroid hormone. So it's another blow to the system. The thyroid's producing it, but you're not converting it, right? So as we feed the system with the balance of carbs, proteins, and fats, we remove the offending foods, we restore the system, and we increase that conversion. And this brings us to a good point. This is the last thing I wanted to cover before we go over what Jeannie was talking about, is a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't have a thyroid issue. I've been tested every which way to China, and I don't have a thyroid issue according to my labs. I've tested TSH, T3, T4, free T3, T4, TBO. Everything is fine, right? The problem is labs don't look at how our cells, the conversion issue, they don't look at that, and they don't look at how our cells are accepting thyroid hormone, and that's why we use body temperature and pulse. So we're not diagnosing, we're just saying this person is more hypometabolic or they have a conversion issue. And I have to be honest with you, that's 99% of the time when people have a thyroid issue, that's the issue. They don't usually have a true thyroid problem, right? So that's really more what we're referring to. And I wanted to talk about that when she talked about the Cascara Sagrada. We did a YouTube on that. That's CASCARA SEGRADA, Cascara Sagrada. Is you don't want to do that initially because the system is very depleted, right? Peristalsis is not moving. So we always say food first, because why? It should make sense now. Because if we do all the things I talked about with the carbs, the proteins, and the fats, and we upregulate the system, we store the sugar, we convert, increase energy, we increase peristalsis, right? So the ball's rolling. If you start taking this and the ball's not rolling, it can have a negative impact on the system, right? And I honestly have to say...
I was going to say, it's 9 times out of 10. I haven't used Cascara Sagrada
in years.
A very long time. I don't know why I jumped into that so quickly. For some reason, I felt the need to really talk about Cascara. But I think
Maybe
it's
you
because...
need it. That's why you brought it up.
No, I'm pretty good that way.
Okay.
But I do find that some people get so backed up, and that is somebody who I would maybe kind of, again, begin to play with that a little bit with. Again, but not without a structure to support it. So go
and because you brought that up, just keep in mind, because I know everyone's probably Googling it right now and trying to buy it.
Yeah.
Number one, you cannot be on it for a long time. If you do, you will actually damage your system. Not only the system itself, but how the system works. It's like someone taking a laxative for too long. Number two, you cannot just buy any type of Cascara Sagrada. If you buy the wrong type, most of the stuff online, a lot of the times it's not aged enough, and it actually can be an irritant to the GI system. So it has to be aged. So just keep in mind that it's really what we're saying is don't take it.
Yeah, why don't we just forget that we even brought it up?
Yeah.
Start with your food. Again, there's so much to benefit in just using your food and regulating the
I would
system.
say do all these things we're going to talk about now. Then if you still have an issue, give us a call. Call Ghostbusters. And then if that doesn't work, then you could do the Cascara. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, you won't.
But removing of the offending foods, upregulating the metabolism by regulating the blood sugar, making sure that your foods are either ripe or very well cooked.
Yeah, so it's like removing a lot of the veggies. People, what? Raw vegetables, cruciferous veggies, all these offending foods, nuts, seeds, nuts and seed oils, legumes, beans. These are all the foods that are causing this issue. Now, when you heal, can we slowly add them back in and teach you how to create balance with them? Sure, so this doesn't happen again.
Proper preparation.
But if you think about it, there's a cause and effect. What you're eating is causing that effect, right? We don't just go, boop, you have SIBO, right? It's there for a reason. So we have to really change how we're eating to heal that. And like Jeannie said, when we're eating fruits and roots, they have to be really ripe, or the roots have to be overcooked so we can digest them and get the sugars and really absorb them and get the benefit within the system.
And keep in mind, guys, that your food, all food has fiber in it. It's not just vegetables. All of your food has fiber in it. So you're not going to be lacking in fiber. Or, again, your ability not to have a bowel movement or suffering from constipation is not because it's lack of fiber. It's more, again, if you're listening to what we're saying, is more what's happening at the metabolic level.
Right.
So keeping that in mind. But we do use, if you are looking for something that, again, can help in helping normalize gut bacteria and whatnot, using the fiber of a raw carrot can be very, very supportive. And even adding the ACV and adding coconut oil and a little bit of salt gives it more of an antibiotic type of property. So there again, more bang for your buck in doing it that way, but you're still going to get a lot of gain just by eating a raw carrot and the function of those fibers, or how those fibers work in the system to help detoxify endotoxin, estrogen, and normalize the system a lot.
Yeah, so we actually did a blog. I'm trying to find it now. On the carrot, and like Jeannie said, I think this would be a better option than...
Much better option.
Now, I'm going to post the blog right now, so if you want to read it, you can kind of click on it below. It kind of acts the same as activated charcoal. We just prefer, as Ryan just talked about, we're more a fan of using food as medicine, right? Going back to Hippocrates. And you can do that. So when you look at the quality of the food, I just posted that blog there. When you look at the quality of the food, we're talking about the bamboo shoots cooked. We're talking about a raw carrot 1 to 2 times a day, not the bleached little carrots, 1 raw carrot. It really helps to absorb these toxins and clear the system. It's not like you're going to eat it and go, oh my God, this is nuts. I'm feeling like... No. It's the
But it has happened.
It has happened. It's the accumulation of using that 1 to 2 carrots a day with a meal. Over time, of course, it's a supplement, so you still need to eat your food. It's the accumulation of using it that helps to absorb. It's everything working together, right? Absorbing that toxin in the bacteria and helping you flush them out. It's like a mop in the system. So I prefer to use bamboo shoots or raw carrots over cascara sagrada or even activated charcoal because I find that they're just something that we can utilize. We can't break them down, but they can be a benefit to us. So we're really working with the body versus not with the body. And I think lastly, like we've talked about, of course, regulating your blood sugar with pro-metabolic foods, but definitely using broth. Broth is very healing to the mucous membranes. It can upregulate peristalsis and upregulate hydrochloric acid production very easily because it's a liquid. And we stimulate hydrochloric acid production when we use protein. So we get that top-down effect. We begin to start healing the system. So before we wrap this up, does anyone have any questions? I know it's been 30 minutes of us talking, but if you have questions now, post them below. If you have questions on the feedback, any feedback, post them below. We will get to them for sure. If anyone wants to share their experience of, having SIBO and what they've done, we'd love to, hear what you've done. So definitely post that on the comments below. Good old Susan Rummage has a comment. Josh, I love your videos showing the best way to eat a carrot.
I don't remember that.
I did that. Okay, so here's the thing. You'll see the video if you search. So, and it's because of different groups out there. So everyone's always like, when you eat the carrot, you have to slice it this way. It has to be sliced this way. It has to be prepared this way. And if you don't, it's not going to work. So anytime I tell a client to eat a carrot, they're like, which way should I slice it? Should I slice it this way? Should I slice it this way? Should it be sliced like this? Should it be just shaved? Should I cut it up after when it's shaved? Should I mix it with anything? Is it going to work better? I always say just eat the carrot. I don't care how you eat the carrot. Eat the carrot any way you want, upside down. Eat the carrot. So I did this video on how to prepare a carrot, and it was literally in slow motion, me just taking it out of the fridge, washing it, and putting it on a cutting board, and that was about it. It was just a joke. So anyways, so just eat the carrot. Paula Farwell asks what about drinking celery juice for hydrochloric acid? I don't really think it's needed personally. I actually posted something on celery on Instagram the other day, and people were like, that was the best post of all time. It was like, what are the benefits of eating celery? And then it said on the next page, none. So it's one of those foods that takes more out of you than it gives you. And we have to think about how our body works. Okay. So what is hydrochloric acid? Why do we produce it? Well, from a digestive standpoint, we produce it to break down protein, right? So what does that tell us? It tells us that protein stimulates hydrochloric acid. So celery doesn't really stimulate hydrochloric acid. I know that people say that, but we really can't argue about physiology and biochemistry. I know sometimes people think opinion trumps biochemistry, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I guess to answer your question, that's not something we recommend, Any more questions? What's up, Amaria? You're catching us right at the end. We're going to close this out. Please watch this on the playback. It was a great Facebook Live. We had a great time. And if you have any questions, post them below in the comments. So we're going to check out for the day. You guys have a wonderful weekend. We will see you here next Thursday, every Thursday, 12 p.m. Pacific Coast time. Peace.
Bye, guys.